The quiet streets of Atchison, Kansas, are lined with trees and look calm and peaceful. At first, nothing about them makes you think that scary events could happen there. However, at 508 North 2nd Street, inside the ordinary brick walls, there is a story that has troubled people for more than 100 years. This story is about a place called the Sallie House, which is famous because it is very strange and frightening. Unlike the usual ghost stories that are calm or mysterious, this haunting is very strong, violent, and personal. The story does not start quietly. Instead, it begins with a loud scream. This scream comes from a very sad and painful event that happened on a temporary operating table. Later, this pain and suffering turned into a ghostly presence that is dangerous. People say that this ghost is called Sallie, and it seems to hate men. Some stories even say that it can hurt people and make them bleed. When visitors go to the house, they often think that they will see the playful spirit of a 6-year-old girl named Sallie. But the truth is much scarier. Evidence from experts and the stories of people who have been there show that Sallie is not really a child. Instead, it is a dangerous force pretending to look like a little girl. This evil force feeds on fights and tension in the house and can cause physical harm. The spirit does not just live in the house. It actively tries to harm the people who live there. It seems to focus on adult men and attacks them in very precise ways, almost like it plans what it does. Strange fires start by themselves in the house, and deep scratches appear on people without explanation. People who stay in the house say that it slowly makes their minds feel weak or afraid. A young father who lived there experienced this and felt very frightened. The Sallie House is often called one of the most evil places in the Midwest. This report will look closely at the stories about the house, the family who lived there, called the Pickman family, and other mysterious events. Some ideas suggest that the house might be a gateway or doorway to something very old and not human. Before we continue, I'd like to request you to subscribe to the channel. It would mean a lot to me. The story begins during a time when the town of Atchison was growing, in the middle to late 1800s. A man named Michael C. Finney had the house built, and it was finished between the years 1867 and 1871. He wanted the house to show that his family had a stable home, and that he was a respected professional. Even so, during its first years, the house went through many small changes that were never officially recorded. Many people who lived there later said that the house always felt heavy and strange, even before anyone reported seeing ghosts or other paranormal things. Over time, the house had many uses. It was a home for a family, a rental property for other people, and most importantly, it was the home and office of Dr. Charles Finney, who was Michael's son. Dr. Finney used the house for both living and working, which made it very unusual. The front room on the first floor was used to examine patients and even perform surgeries. This was normal at that time because the nearest hospital in the area did not open until 1915. Because the house was both a family home and a place where people suffered or died, it created a special kind of energy. This mixing of everyday life with pain and death may have started the haunting. Historical documents show that Michael Finney died in the house soon after it was finished, in 1872. After that, more deaths, some confirmed, some only rumored, happened in the house, which made the haunting stronger. The house itself is a simple 2-story brick building with a dark, unfinished basement, and it has not changed much since it was built. Many ghost hunters and investigators find this normal, ordinary look very frightening. There are no fancy towers, no Gothic decorations, and nothing that looks spooky from the outside. It is just a simple house that became the center of terrible events. The way the house is built is very important for how the haunting happens. The nursery and the basement are the main areas where strange activity occurs. The nursery looks innocent and normal, but it hides something dangerous. The basement is dark and frightening, and it shows the true horror of what happened in the house. The main story of the Sallie House is about a terrible medical event that turned a place meant for healing into a place of endless suffering. Local stories say that a young girl named Sallie was brought to Dr. Finney's home by her mother. The girl was very sick, and the doctor said she had a serious, burst appendix. Because it was such an urgent case, the surgery began right away on the examination table on the first floor. According to the legend, the anesthesia did not work. and the child stayed awake while she was in terrible, unbearable pain. She felt that the doctor was trying to hurt her on purpose, and her last moments were filled with fear and suffering. People believe that this painful event is the reason why the ghost or spirit in the house seems to attack men. If the spirit is really the girl Sallie, her last memory was of a man causing her pain. This may explain why she seems to hate men and acts aggressively toward them. However, historians and researchers question this story. There are no records showing that a child named Sallie Finney existed, or that a patient by that name died in the house. Because of this, some people think that the name Sallie might be a made-up name or a way to hide a darker secret. The difference between the stories and the historical records has led to a more intense theory. Some people think that the story about the failed surgery was hiding something worse. They suggest that Dr. Finney may have had a secret relationship with a housemaid, and that the child, possibly his illegitimate daughter, was killed to protect his reputation. In this version of the story, the haunting is not because of a medical mistake, but because of a murder in the home. People also believe that the mother spirit in the house is trying to get revenge for her dead child. This mix of events, painful surgery, betrayal, and secret murder, creates a very strong emotional energy. This energy may be what keeps the spirit or entity present in the Sallie House. The most important part of the Sallie House story started in December 1992. At that time, Tony and Deborah Pickman rented the house. They were expecting their first child, and did not know anything about the house's scary history. At first, the strange events were small and easy to ignore. There were odd smells, lights that flickered, and sometimes they felt like someone was watching them. These things could have been blamed on the house being old. When their son Taylor was born, the activity in the house became much stronger. The birth seemed to attract the spirit out of the shadows and into the center of the family's life. The entity, which called itself Sallie through psychic readings, first appeared to show a protective, almost motherly interest in the baby. Toys in the nursery were sometimes found neatly arranged in circles, almost like the spirit was holding a meeting. Electronic mobiles would turn on by themselves to calm the baby. Deborah Pickman felt a connection with the spirit and thought of it as a lonely child looking for a family. However, this created a dangerous situation. While Deborah felt safe and friendly toward the spirit, Tony was being targeted. The spirit's actions toward him were meant to weaken his sense of safety and control. At first, the incidents were small, like hiding his keys, turning off lights when he entered a room, or whispering his name when he was alone. But over time, as Tony doubted and resisted, the spirit's actions became violent. This shows that the presence in the house was smart and aware. It was not just haunting the house, it was actively trying to scare and control Tony, the male head of the family. The most terrifying part of the Sallie House haunting is that the spirit can physically hurt people, especially men. Tony Pickman became the main target while he lived in the house for 2 years. He suffered hundreds of injuries that could not be explained. These were not accidental scratches. They looked intentional and often appeared in groups of 3, like claws or fingernails. Sometimes the scratches happened in front of witnesses. Paranormal investigators saw red marks form on Tony's chest, back, or stomach. After a short time, the skin would break and start to bleed. Tony also experienced strange burns on his skin. These burns often happened when the temperature in the house suddenly dropped. The combination of extreme cold and sudden burns suggests that the spirit was controlling the physical environment in a very powerful way, much stronger than normal ghost activity. The attacks affected Tony's mind as well as his body. He lived in constant fear, never knowing when the spirit would strike next. This made him feel isolated from Deborah, who thought the spirit was just a playful little girl. Deborah had trouble believing that the same entity hurting her husband could also appear innocent. The spirit's choice to hurt Tony but not Deborah or the baby shows that it was very selective. It seemed to want to remove the male presence from the home while leaving the rest of the family unharmed. As the haunting grew stronger, investigators began to question who or what Sallie really was. People often reported seeing a small girl, but her actions did not always match those of a normal child. Experts in demons and paranormal activity suggest that Sallie might not be a real child at all. Instead, she could be a dangerous spirit pretending to be a child so she can trick the family. This kind of trick, called angelic or childlike deception in occult books, allows a spirit to take energy from people while seeming harmless to some members of the household. The way the spirit reacted to religious items also supports the idea that it is not human. Crosses placed in the house were often found turned upside down or thrown across the room. When a medium tried to cleanse the house, the spirit did not run away or hide. Instead, it became extremely aggressive, giving Tony Pickman some of the worst scratches he ever experienced. This shows that the spirit is not lost or trapped. It is powerful, territorial, and seems to grow stronger when there is conflict. There are also rumors about a darker origin for the spirit in the stories of Atchison. Some people believe the house was built on land that had been used for ancient burials or early frontier crimes. This could create a thin spot where dangerous ancient forces can appear. According to these ideas, Sallie might not have been a real child who died in the house. The entity could have existed first and used the local tragedies, or even just the story of a tragedy, to create its identity. This shows how legends and the environment together can make a haunting become real and dangerous. If the nursery shows the fake or gentle side of the spirit, the basement is believed to show its real and darker side. The basement is unfinished and has a dirt floor. Many visitors say it feels very scary and uncomfortable there. People often report seeing shadow figures in the basement. These figures look like tall human shapes but without faces or details. Witnesses say these shadow figures quickly move into corners or disappear behind wooden beams when someone looks at them directly. Many people also say the air in the basement feels heavy and strange. Some visitors feel nausea, headaches, or sudden fear when they go down the stairs into the basement. Another strange story connected to the basement is about a pentagram symbol scratched into the floor. A pentagram is a 5-point star often linked with occult rituals. According to local stories, a previous tenant or a group of people interested in the occult may have performed rituals there. Some believe these rituals may have opened a portal or made the spirit stronger in the house. Even though later owners covered the floor, rumors about these rituals still attract paranormal investigators who think the house could be a gateway for demonic spirits. Another theory is that there may be unrecorded burials inside the basement walls. One story claims that Dr. Finney accidentally caused the death of Sallie's mother during a surgery and secretly buried her body in the basement to avoid being accused of murder. Some people say they have seen the spirit of an older woman in the house. According to this theory, it could be Sallie's mother, trapped in the same place as her child, because their bodies were never properly buried. The mystery continues because local authorities have not allowed ground-penetrating radar scans of the basement. This refusal has made people even more curious, and has increased speculation that something important could be hidden beneath the basement floor. During the last months that the Pickman family lived in the house, their home life and mental health completely fell apart. Tony Pickman started having a strange condition that his wife called possible possession. Tony often had blackouts, where he would lose awareness and later could not remember what he had done. During these times, he sometimes did things without knowing it. He also began hearing voices that mocked and teased him, but no one else could hear them. His personality slowly changed. Before, he was a kind and loving father. But later he became angry, suspicious, and hostile. At times, he even had strong thoughts about harming his wife, which frightened both of them. Some paranormal investigators say this kind of mental change is a common sign of a demonic infestation. According to this idea, the entity in the house did not only want to scare Tony, it wanted to control him and replace his good nature with hatred and darkness. One very disturbing event happened during one of Tony's blackouts. He later discovered that he had killed a stray cat with a butcher knife, but he had no memory of doing it. This shocked him and made him realize how serious the situation had become. Tony later described the feeling as a toxic grip inside him, which only seemed to weaken when he left the house. The situation became unbearable during the final incident. One day, Tony said an invisible force violently pushed him, breaking the wooden stair railing. When his wife Deborah saw how strong the unseen force was, she realized that their safety could no longer be protected by rules, prayers, or faith alone. In 1994, the Pickman family finally decided to leave the house. They abandoned the property and their plans for the future just to escape the entity that was slowly destroying their lives. Since then, the house has rarely been used as a normal home. Instead, it has become a famous paranormal attraction, visited by people interested in ghost stories and supernatural mysteries. Besides the supernatural stories, the Sallie House legend is also connected to several historical and social conspiracy theories. One popular rumor says that the haunting story was created on purpose by the mayor of Atchison to help improve the town's economy. People who believe this theory say there are no real medical records showing that the surgery on Sallie ever happened. They also point out that the Sallie story only became widely known in the 1990s. Because of this, some people believe the story may have been invented to attract tourists. They think the Pickman family may have been either unaware participants or willing actors in a publicity stunt to make Atchison famous as the most haunted town in America. Another darker theory is called the Maid's Affair theory. This idea suggests that Sallie may have been the child of a secret relationship between Dr. Finney and an African-American servant who worked in his home. In the early 1900s, a relationship like this could have destroyed Dr. Finney's career and reputation. According to this theory, Dr. Finney performed the surgery inside his home instead of a hospital to keep the child's identity and existence secret. When Sallie died during the surgery, it may have been seen as a tragic but convenient way to hide the secret. Supporters of this theory believe the haunting stories could represent the anger and pain caused by betrayal, secrecy, and injustice connected to that hidden past. In modern times, the Sallie House has been studied by many paranormal investigators using different scientific tools. Some evidence, like the recorded screaming EVP, electronic voice phenomenon, and the mysterious scratches, is difficult for some people to ignore. However, many skeptics believe there could be natural explanations. One possible reason is something called infrasound. These are very low sound waves that humans usually cannot hear. Because the house is close to the Missouri River and is very old, some experts believe infrasound could be present there. These sound waves can sometimes cause feelings of fear, nausea, anxiety, and even strange visions like shadow figures. Another explanation comes from research in building biology, which studies how buildings affect human health. According to this idea, the house may have high electromagnetic fields, EMF, and toxic mold. Together, these things can cause a condition called dermatographia. In this condition, a person's skin becomes very sensitive, and even a small touch can create red marks or welts that look like scratches. Because of this, skeptics say that the scratches on Tony Pickman's body might have been caused by a physical reaction to the environment, not by a demon or spirit. But the mystery is still not fully explained. These scientific ideas cannot explain why the strange events mostly happened to Tony, or why objects in the house sometimes moved by themselves, such as teddy bears being arranged in a perfect circle. Today, the Sallie House still stands as a place full of mystery. Some people believe it is haunted by the spirit of a young girl, while others think it may be something darker, like a powerful demonic presence. The house still attracts paranormal investigators and visitors who are brave enough to spend a night inside and look for evidence. For the people living in Atchison, it is an important local landmark. For the Pickman family, it was a terrifying experience they barely escaped. And for many others around the world, the Sallie House is known as one of the most haunted houses in the American heartland.